I gotta warm my voice up.
Little like red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Yeah, basically. Try not to mess it up the first time. First take. I always do. Okay. Welcome to Behind the Backspace, where we discuss mechanical keyboards with streamers and people in the community so we can get a better upside of the state of the hobby and also get to know the personality a bit better. Interloper, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. How
Also
are you?
Nathan. But yeah, Interloper.
Yeah.
Whichever way.
Yeah.
Great. Uh, Interloper Creative, you've been a solid investment for Twitch Prime for a lot of people for many years. Welcome to the basement is your general call out. You're always doing kick checks. Do we have a kick check for you today?
Oh man, it's my classic inside shoe I've had.
Yeah.
They're just some old Adiprene beaters, but you can see, I don't know if they're in the shot, there's a whole pile of shoes back there. So I've been going through my collection, selling off as much as I want to. I moved recently and was like,
Yeah.
I got way too many shoes. So
Yeah.
downsizing, but
No, you have moved. I'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to give you more of a shout out. Like we just discussed before, but nothing is off limits for Nathan. Keyboards are your passion, as well as many other hobbies, like a
yeah.
closet full of whiskey, desk mats, mechanical things,
Yep.
etc. What's your latest hobby that you've been really into?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I've vacillated between a lot of hobbies that I've had for a long time. Probably right now, I've been throwing a lot of energy into just setting up all of my tools again. And so I've been building like an enclosure for my laser cutter so I can laser cut inside. And I've doing some woodworking, trying to build an entry bench for my wife. And so, yeah, just building out my infrastructure for making things again. I think that's probably my main like the nucleus of a lot of my hobbies is making things. And
Yeah,
so just, yeah, I love making sure I have a place to make things. So,
that's true. Yeah, I find I'm very lackluster at giving myself my own space, then I don't take over the rest of the space. So yeah, I need that. That's a good thing. I need to work on that. Thank you. It's helpful. But yeah, how are you doing? How was the move? How long ago since you moved, and are you settling in now and everything?
yeah, so I moved about 5 months ago,
Mhm.
first weekend of December from
Yeah,
Montana to Oregon. So it was
yeah,
like 800 miles, something
yeah,
like that. And honestly, it's been great. I miss my family and friends back home. Both my parents and my wife's parents are back in Montana, but I don't know. It's been cool to have a tremendous amount of space. The house we're renting is enormous, and so I have more room than I know what to do with.
yeah.
We were very fortunate to find this place, and then yeah, and she's got a great job out here. That's why we
That's cool.
moved. Was she got a job as a physician's assistant out in Oregon? I would say it was tough at first because we moved right in the middle of the rainy season. I'm
Mhm.
not used to it raining that much, but we got through that. Sun came out, got some vitamin D,
Yep.
and I'm doing
Much
great
happier.
now. So
Much happier. Yeah, that seems to be a bit of a struggle for everyone. I used to live in New Zealand, and it rained 8 months out of the year, and you're like, feels like depression, but it's not. It's just sad to have it raining all the time. Like, what else? Tell us your origin story. Like, where did Interloper come from, or like even your personal, like, how did you come to be this mechanically minded person in
sure.
2024? Yeah,
Consider myself to be very mechanically minded.
mm,
My occupation is software. I think I think in general, my passion is just making things, and so I'm happy to make things regardless of the discipline, whether it's incredibly rudimentary electrical engineering or mechanical engineering or software.
yeah,
But as far as how I got into mechanical keyboards specifically, as a software engineer, I think this is pretty common. As a software engineer, I use them every day. I type all the time. And one day was like, surely there's something better than this like rubber dome Dell keyboard that came with my PC. And I think this was probably 2012, 2013. So I
yeah.
bought a DOS keyboard with MX Blues because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was looking for. Bought
Well,
that thing, typed on it for 5 or 6 years probably.
yeah,
Um, that wore the legends right off the keycaps. But in my opinion, I was like, it's better than this is a great keyboard.
yeah.
And then one day I was going to a LAN party at a friend's house in a couple weeks, and I was like, I've heard that there's these things called MX Reds that are better for gaming, and I want to give them a shot. So I went on to mechanicalkeyboards.com and I bought a Vortex Race 3 with
Yeah.
MX Reds in it.
Yeah.
and was like, "This is amazing." And from there, I just like that was like 2018, I want to say.
Yep.
From there, I just was like, okay, so there's something to the difference between switches, and just snowballs from there. I think I got a Keychron shortly thereafter,
Yeah.
and yeah, I've built up a pretty large amount of keyboards, which I'm actually that's another thing I'm trying to downsize along with the shoes.
Yep.
But I got to the point where what I truly enjoyed at a certain point was building keyboards for other people. So
Mm.
taking on clients was really great for me. Once and that's actually the entire reason I even started streaming. I was trying to troll around on r/mech market and get, offer my services. But people were pretty nice on there, but they just kept saying, I want to send you a keyboard to build, but I've never seen a build from you and I don't know what your services are like or anything.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, okay. I just need to stream some builds. And so I just started doing that. And I bothered one of my friends to mod for me and watch the stream so I wasn't alone. So I
Yep.
basically sit there and talk to my friend Austin for
Oh,
the
nice.
first probably 4 or 5 months that I
Mhm.
streamed. It was just the two of us. And I was only doing it to have VODs to link on my Mech Market posts.
Yep.
Then I think, do you remember Vayar? He's an OG
No.
keyboard streamer. He and some of the Keeb Life folks
Yep.
found me. And you know how that goes. It's as
Yeah.
soon as they find you, it's
Mm.
you got an audience immediately. That was in July of 2020 or 2021. I can't remember which, but I think it
Yep.
was 2020. 2021. Yeah. So since then, it's grown beyond keyboards. I've done a
Mhm.
lot of things on stream other than keyboards. I got one of my friends to help me cook ramen, did a whole big kitchen stream. I've done
That was a great one.
drums on stream and a
Yeah.
lot of other stuff has happened. But yeah, so at this point, like it's funny because it's almost like the keyboard is just this setting for the stream, and the stream is just for me to hang out with my friends and enjoy being together. So I want to do it more since I've moved. I've been pretty preoccupied with a lot of other things, but
Mhm.
the couple times I've streamed since the move, it's been really great just to be like familiar faces, even if they're just Twitch names,
Yeah.
just to have a community. Yeah, I think for a lot of disciplines or even like Twitch topics, if you will, whatever games, like if you stream Apex Legends, like you're just gonna be out on your own for a while. So it's the community for keyboards is pretty special. I would have never thought that by buying, I guess, a DOS keyboard in 2012, I would end up going to LA and meeting up with friends that I've made, or
Yep.
some have even come out to visit me, and that's been amazing. It's like just random people from out of state I would have never met otherwise are at my house. We're hanging out. It's pretty incredible. So
That's so nice.
it's a great hobby.
That's
So
so nice. That's also your personality. You're quite a friendly and welcoming person anyways.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then the name
Mhm.
Interloper
Yeah.
too, that came from so my friends and I had this stupid thing where every time we came up with a stupid band name, we'd write it down.
Yep.
And we have this humongous list of 200 or 300 band names we've come up with over the last like decade. And at one point we thought, let's make a t-shirt for a fake music festival that all of the bands are playing at.
Mhm.
And so we wanted to pick one of the band names to be the name for the festival. And
Alright.
so there were not a lot of one word band names, but Interloper was one of them.
Yep.
And I just liked the way it sounded. So I made this shirt for the Interloper Music Festival.
Yep.
And so that was when it was coming time for me to create a channel to stream to get my VODs for Reddit. I was like, maybe I can have this channel be a place for me to stream my keyboards and also my
Mm.
wife to stream painting because she
Yep.
paints. And I noticed there was a big sub community for art on
Yep.
Twitch that was pretty vibrant. So I was like, it'd be cool if we could do either or both. And so I just put creative on the end because I thought that would encapsulate both disciplines like enough.
Yep.
To be honest, it's come to haunt me a little bit because I feel like it comes off as a little bit vain, maybe like I'm saying I'm a very creative person or like trying to describe myself from a third party perspective or something. I don't mind it that much, but
Yeah.
I've tried to get the name just Interloper straight up.
Yeah.
Someone has that on Twitch and I messaged them. They don't want to they didn't even respond to me. So I'm assuming they
Yeah.
either don't check it or don't want to give it up. But I'd love
Yep.
to just go to just Interloper, but at least for like reserving email addresses and stuff, no one's taken Interloper Creative. I'm sure
True.
interloper@gmail.com is long gone, but yeah, so that's where it came from.
That's awesome. That's really good. In terms of, yeah, meeting up and stuff like that, what was your experience at Keep Life or like one of those bigger meetups? What's your experience there?
Yeah, so I've been to 3. I went to Keeb Life in 2020, I think 2022,
Mhm.
and 2023, and I went to a meetup in Arizona in January of 23, I think.
Yep.
So, I'm like, those meetups have been crazy for me because the first one I went to, I was just so nervous, right? There's all these people that I know, whether by name or sometimes by face, like if they're streamers, but you've never met them in person. You don't
Mm.
really know how well you're gonna get along,
Yep.
and yeah, that was very intimidating. Frank Inumashiki is the ultimate social lubricant in those settings. He was also very helpful because the first one we went to, we made a mini vacation out of it. We were there for 4 days, and Frank is an LA native, so he gave us so many suggestions of things to do. He even drove
Yep.
us around for a little bit to show
Yep.
us parts of town, and so that made the experience incredible. So in that
Yep.
regard, like the meetup was only a small part of it, but it was really cool to go to you get starstruck because I ran into Teja Types there, who
Yeah. No.
still is the biggest keyboard streamer. He doesn't stream nearly as much as he used to, but he's
Yep.
still the and so that was, I don't know, it was just wild for me. And then at that time, like I had a following, but not a lot. I was introducing myself to people. Like I
Mm.
shared a table. You could bring keyboards, put them on a table. I shared a table with Matt and Cena, Mod Musings, and I was like, no way, this guy is here. Like, I'm a huge fan of his YouTube channel. So,
That's
and
crazy.
just the nicest guy. The Arizona meetup was a little bit more low key. It was more like I knew pretty much everyone there, and we all went, like, a whole bunch of us picked that meetup to go to just to hang out because it was closest to all of us.
Yep.
So it felt a little bit different, but it was super fun. I shared a hotel room with Fuzzinator, and
Mm.
we all booked a big block of hotel rooms. We were all just hanging out. And then the most recent Keeb Life was at a convention center. It was huge. Like the
Yep.
first one was just that kind of like a public hall in a park. This one
Yeah.
was at an actual convention center, and I was working the event, so I was a volunteer staff there.
Yeah.
So I was a lot more involved, which was cool. But it was crazy. Like I was having people come up to me and introducing themselves,
Mm.
which like is incredibly humbling. Like
Yeah.
you want to talk about like
Mm.
degrees of fame, right? I don't
Yeah.
think you could get much smaller than what I do. So
Well,
to have someone come up to me and be like, "Can you sign my Jane?" I was just like, "I'm
that's
not going
awesome.
to devalue an expensive keyboard." But yeah, I was standing next to Teja and someone came up and wanted both of us to sign it. And I was like, this is
Well.
such a wild experience. And Teja recognized me too.
Mm.
And I don't know, it was just it's so humbling. It's such a
Yeah.
welcoming community. Like even sometimes Frank will post in the Keeb Life Discord, like, "Hey, here's a new streamer. Go check him out," and
Yep.
just helping spread the word. So
That's
yeah,
it.
it's fantastic. I'm going to the meetup this year. I'm super excited. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I find pretty much all of our keyboard people in the community are just, yeah, like you say, humble and just nice and always trying to share, not share the wealth, but share the wealth of the viewers, basically. So share the viewers
Yep.
around and just be happy to talk about keyboards more than going, hey, no, I'm going to gatekeep this from you. I don't want you to have my views, things like that, which a lot of people have done in the past. Has there been anything crazy on stream that you've been like, "This is the most wildest thing ever"? What would you say to that?
Oh, I'm trying to think of all the yeah. I've been rated by Teja and Alex Odos,
Yeah,
which that in and of itself is just that's
wild.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's happened.
I remember, yes, when Alex Otis rated me with 260 people or something like that, and I was just like, I didn't even know what to say at that point.
Yep.
And that's yeah, I think Alex Otis is where my sort of stuff got kicked off quite a lot for keyboards, for sure.
Yep.
But
No,
yeah.
he's so
He's
great
a
about that. I
he's
mean,
big in the community, and he's still humble to this day, even though he's massive on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, wherever. Yeah,
yep.
cool dude.
I'm trying to think if there's obvious. I've had a lot of over the last 3 years of streaming, a lot of stuff. I still remember how fast my heart was beating because of all of the setup for the Big Tim joke when I had that vinyl banner of Tim because I
That's
had
right.
staged the whole thing. I'd rehearsed it for how I was going to reveal
Yep.
Big Tim. And yeah, that was very nerve-wracking just because
Mm,
I'm like, when it's live, it's
yeah,
go time.
yeah.
And so
That was honestly one of the best, like most, I don't know, like just different things that someone could have done in a stream. Like you wouldn't think that's gonna have just a massive mural of someone like coming down in the background. So
and I
I
think
applaud
made
you
it
for that
all
because you do a lot of these things which no one would ever think about, and then the most ridiculous things for good reasons. So
Sure.
it's awesome to see. I love it.
Well, I'm very thankful for Tim because
Mm.
we did not know each other at all at the
Yeah.
time. Like, we hadn't spoken. We were aware of each other, but that was about it. And so I took a risk because I was like, I don't know how he's going to respond to this, but I think it's really funny. And so he's been an incredibly good sport about that.
Yeah.
And I think I remember another moment when it was Halloween. I was dressed up as David S. Pumpkins, which was Tom Hanks' SNL character from a
Right.
sketch from years ago. That's pretty niche, and I think it's funny, but no one else does. But I'm wearing a pumpkin it's like a suit that's all pumpkins and a
Yeah.
wig, and I'm doing a scented marker tier list, like ranking scented markers, and I'm just sitting there. I had this like moment of clarity where I was like, what am I doing right now with my life? How did it end up here? But
Mm,
at the same time, there's also 50 people watching this right now, so
yeah.
that's not insignificant. And another moment too, honestly, that I'll never forget was I did a charity event, the Keebsmas thing that Keeb Noob
Yeah.
Ellie puts together.
Yeah.
And the absolutely insane support from the community.
Yeah.
I think Spooky Caps was a huge contributor on
Yeah.
that stream, but everyone was. And I'm pretty sure we raised like almost $1,000 in that one stream alone.
Yeah.
And there were just so many people there, and it was so fun. And I was just like, I remember finishing the stream and just sitting down with my wife, and I was just like shaking, and she was like, "This was a good thing. Like, we did
Yeah.
a good." So yeah, that being able to be part of events like that and contribute, because that one went to, I think, Girls Who Code was the charity for that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know, that's in and of itself just an incredible thing that the community does, is they care a lot about outreach. And so there's been a lot of charity events over the years that
Definitely.
the keyboard community has been a part of.
Yeah. Such a such a cool community. Anyway, it is. We could talk about this all day. Literally, just how everyone supports everyone, and it's the most craziest thing to jump into. Like literally, thinking of keyboards, you wouldn't think, hey, the community can be so inclusive and stuff like that. Whereas I've been in other communities on Twitch and stuff like Battlefield and stuff like that. You'll get one or two raids or something like that, but it's not every single time you stream. There's gonna be at least one raid or two or something
Yeah.
that's gonna happen. It's not like not if, it's when kind of thing. So it's
Yeah, it's a function of how long you're live.
yeah, exactly. So good. In terms of your Twitch, how much do you think would you attribute any of that to luck, as in being in the cube community at a certain time or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the community is the popularity of keyboards on Twitch is less now than it was in 2020.
Yeah.
Keyboards in general had a big surge. Everyone started working from home. Everyone started thinking, surely there's something better than this keyboard. And so it had a boom. There's also been a bit of, I think, erosion of trust with some vendors over time that's helped push people away. But in general, I would say that, yeah, the timing of my joining the streaming community had a huge amount to do with it. But then also just being discovered by, I don't, you stream long enough with a keyboard tag, someone's going to find you, but being found by one of the keyboard people who's connected is huge. I've done a lot of stuff over the years in terms of content creation, and this Twitch channel is by far the most successful thing I've ever done. And it's definitely right place, right time type of thing. And I don't take any of that for granted, for sure. And I won't deny that I haven't worked hard at it, for sure. But there's plenty of streamers who've worked way harder than me who have a smaller following or have been less successful on Twitch. Yeah, no, I think streaming keyboards is a good thing to do if you want to have like a floor for what your viewership is. It has a ceiling too. You're not going to have 20,000 viewers if you're
No.
streaming mechanical keyboard builds. At least no one has yet. Not to say it couldn't happen, but
True. Teha did get very close during that ANP time, but I think that was like 12,000 or something ridiculous at one point. I was just
yeah.
like, this is mental. But yeah, it was a really big thing, like him being featured and stuff like that just made it, yeah, pretty massive for sure.
Yep. I think the other thing is just consistency. And that's what I've struggled most with is if you want to grow your following, you need to be live at the same time consistently. Because if you think about it like this, I've heard this analogy other places, but if your favorite TV show is on at a random time, you're never going to watch it. So and for me, it's just streaming. It's, you know how it is. It's hard to juggle life and content creation because
Yep.
streaming, generally, I stream for 3 to 5 hours per stream. So
Yeah.
If I want to do that twice a week, that's 6 to 10 hours of my life that I need. And it's not just what's on stream. You got to prep stuff beforehand and do
And
stuff
do stuff
afterwards
afterwards.
too.
No,
So
I
yeah,
agree.
it's time. It's a seasonal thing for me. I think right now I'm in a season of life where I
Mm.
am not as pushing as hard because I'm trying to shift more focus onto YouTube.
Yep.
But I'm still involved. I edit for Patty,
Yep.
which sort of that definitely helps to scratch the itch a little bit because I'm still involved in the keyboard content creation pipeline in some way. But yeah.
How long do you think? How long on average would a patty edit take?
So usually what I can estimate is if it's a one-to-one with the length of the VOD. So if
Yeah.
I get a 4-hour VOD, it's gonna take me 4 hours to cut it. So I generally edit at 2x speed on playbacks, and then I don't have to watch all of it necessarily. I try
Yeah.
to just to catch anything funny because I like to put funny bits at the
Yeah.
middle or at the beginning. But yeah, so and I've gotten more efficient over the years. I got a lot of over the year. It's been a little over a year since
Yeah.
I've started working for her. But just with I have template Premiere files, I have
Yep.
macros, I have a process
Nice.
that makes it all go faster.
And there'll be
Yeah.
some sort of a not a schedule, but she'll be doing streams every what 3 days or 5 days or whatever it is. She's
She
pretty
streams like 4 days a week, 5
yeah
days a
pretty
week, but
regular.
splits her time between World of Warcraft and
Mm.
keyboards, so about half of them tend to be keyboards.
Okay.
And
Oh,
then
so you're only editing
depending
the keyboard ones, not the other ones.
correct, and
Okay.
only the keyboard ones that are because sometimes she'll just build a build for a client. I don't
Yeah.
edit those. If it's like a designer trying to show off something that's
Oh,
not
right.
out yet, that's what I edit, so
Gotcha. 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 Okay, that's cool. What other things? Actually, no. What keyboard's on your desk right now? Show us your keyboard.
oh, yeah. This one hits my desk a lot. It's the Type 65,
Yep.
and I have
Nice.
marshmallows in it, and I'm running it plateless.
Mm, very
That
cool.
one, the Onyx,
Mhm.
I'm a huge fan of, and the Calliope. I like really wide keyboards that aren't very tall, so
Mm.
those are both Efroless TKLs with a macro column, and I
Yep.
just love how wide they are.
Like the
So,
candy
yeah.
bar, for example, maybe.
Candy bar's nice, except for I
Yeah.
need my number row.
You don't
I'm
want them
lost
that
without it.
thin. Like you want them a little, like at least a what is it, 40? Yeah.
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 Yeah, like a W1AT would be a dream keyboard to have someday. I built one
Yep.
for Patty actually, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, someday I'll get one.
WONAT is awesome. Or Days keyboard as well. What's his keyboard? Bit 101. That would be.
Oh
I
yeah.
I really want to get a Bit 101 because I like the folded metal style that he's got going on with
Mm.
all of his stuff. He's got like the Bit 101 plus he's got a secondary numpad as well as now like something does like a tessellation on it as well. Like he's doing a lot of stuff. So he's been pushing. Sorry, just to go on a tangent, but because I watch his streams quite a lot, and he's coding another like the keyboard that people play like Tekken on and stuff like that. Those
Like a
pads,
gamepad?
game pads, yeah. I forget what they're
Yeah.
called, but just the ones with all the buttons that smash the buttons on. But that's been very popular for him, so it's pretty
Nice.
random that like he can build a keyboard like a Bit 101 and then go into those sort of gaming ones as well, which are not even specifically a keyboard, but it is MX switches in the back end. So it's cool.
Sure.
I love that shit.
Similarly with Guitar Hero controllers,
Mm.
there's actually a lot of crossover with
Yep.
if it's an input device, it probably gets recognized as a keyboard at some point on a computer.
What other keyboards do you have like around you? Is there something you want to show off?
That is all of the keyboards that I have right now. There's a lot there.
I didn't see that behind your head there.
Ah.
Is there one that you're particularly proud of you want to show off?
Sure, yeah. One second.
Yeah.
This one is this is a Hello 0110, and it's a HHKB form factor, but I had it Cerakoted by P3D, who unfortunately doesn't. I think they're coming back in some capacity, but they shut their doors a while back. But anyways, I had GMK Ursa, and it's this mono beige, and I thought, man, that black cherry color would look so nice. And yeah, they
That
did an
cherry
amazing
color
job.
is
Great
great.
finish. So I love this one. But I'm bad at HHKB because I didn't do true HHKB. There's not a split backspace on it. And it is control caps, but it's hard to mentally rewire.
No, I agree. How often would you change out your keyboards? Are you like a daily, you'll be like, hey, I want to do that one today and then chuck something else? Or you're like, I'll keep it there for a month and then, oh, I'm sick of that for now and then get something else.
Yeah. Month. I think I actually will swap the keycaps more often than the keyboard because I
Yep.
don't like shining keycaps. So
True.
I'll go
Sure.
what I typically do is I'll put GMK on, I'll use it for a couple weeks, and then I'll go back to PBT for a month, and then I'll put on a different GMK set. So because of that, I tend to gravitate towards pretty neutral keyboard colors because I like to be
Yep.
able to use any of my GMK sets on them. So this black cherry color is pretty exceptional for me to want,
Mm.
but yeah, I usually do gunmetal, beige, or
Yeah.
black if I'm
Yeah.
picking a color.
Do you have Pyga as well? Because I think Pyga, just looking at that keyboard, would go quite nicely on it, like
I do.
the red Pyga. That
Yep.
may
Yeah,
may
that's
look
a great
quite
set.
nice. Anyway, okay, when you moved and stuff like that, how was moving all of your mechanical keyboards? How was moving all of your whiskey? How was moving all of your hobbies? How hard was that to
Yeah.
pack up?
It was so yeah, when we knew we were gonna move in August,
Yep.
and the move date wasn't until December. So, basically, the second we decided we were going to move, I started packing up my hobbies. So, I figured we're gonna be in a rush to pack everything else anyways, so
Yep.
the hobbies are the things that, like, I can live without for now. I started with my vinyl because yeah, it was vinyl,
That's right.
shoes, whiskey, keyboards. I think that was the bulk of it,
Mm.
and board games, that's the other one. So, it was eye-opening for me because the sheer volume of all of that stuff because I had packed it all up and put it all in a single room, and I'm just
Yep.
looking at this monument of what is ultimately unnecessary for survival. Now, granted, like, we all buy things that aren't necessary for survival, and that's a
Yep.
luxury you can have if you have the means, but
Yeah.
I definitely realized in that moment, there's some things here that I actually would rather not even have than move with. In that moment, I remember packing up some shoes and I'm like, "Nah, these are so similar to other shoes that I have. I would rather just sell these and not
Yep.
have them anymore." So, that's what I started doing as soon as I got here is
Yeah.
I kept all of my collections in their boxes until I felt like I was ready to start listing them on various online sites. So, yeah, I've already sold like 15, 20 pairs of shoes. I'm planning to but the keyboards were the exception to that. So all my whiskey's still in boxes. I can't
Yep.
really sell that. You can't really sell an open whiskey bottle, so that kind of is what it is.
No. Yeah.
But the keyboards I wanted to get them out because I wanted to feel like familiarity around me in my workspace, and the keyboards are a huge part of that. I used to have them all up
Yep.
on the wall. I had 3D printed these wall mounts, and so I remember it was very sad to take those down because it was such a cool thing for me to have, and so it really felt like end of an era to take the keyboards off the wall. But fortunately, I didn't intentionally design them this way, but they sit quite nicely on a flat surface and
Yep.
still hold keyboards,
That's
both
awesome.
Alice style and traditional. So I was able to set them all out in a way that didn't require me to drill holes in the wall in the rental house.
Yeah.
And
Did you own your previous house? Was it, or
I did, and I still do.
just
My
rent it out?
Our thoughts were like, we'd love to get back to Montana someday.
Mhm.
My wife had tried to find a job there at the
Yep.
time, but being a new grad, there was a lot less people willing to take that on. So yeah, we still own our house. We lease it out, and we're
Cool.
thinking maybe in a couple of years we'll try to come back. Then I'll put more screws back in the wall.
So, just in saying Montana, so you moved from Montana to Oregon, did you say?
Yeah,
Oregon, okay. So, how was that? Did you go through? Would you have to drive through like Idaho, Boise, like down that way
yep.
kind of thing, or do you go up and through Washington and down kind of thing?
We went up north, so we went through Coeur d'Alene, and there's a couple big mountain passes in there, and
Hmm.
we hit some snowstorms during that.
Yeah.
I was driving my truck, my wife was driving her car, and then my father-in-law was driving the U-Haul.
Yep.
And we yeah, we white knuckled it through the mountain passes and then just got a hotel room for the night. It's about 11 hours when the roads are good to drive, and it was definitely gonna be closer to 15 or 16 with them like that, so
Right.
spent the night in Idaho and then finished it off the next day, so it was
Okay.
unfortunate in the sense because the weather had been holding out up until then. It was like the first real snowstorm of the year.
Yep.
So it just so happened to be the weekend we were moving, but
Mm.
it worked out. We got there, but it was one of those things where I didn't want to leave at all. So it was already like a stressful time. Moving's never fun. And then
Yep.
you throw a snowstorm into it and it was like, oh man, are we gonna be okay? But
Yeah.
yeah, we were fine.
Because you were near like Bosman, is that right? Like around that
Yes,
area?
that's where I lived. Yep.
Yeah, Bosman, and then you moved to you in Portland or something now, or
We're in
Eugene?
Hood River, which is a little bit east of Portland.
Okay. So you're not like going from little town to a massive city kind of thing or anything like
We're
that.
going from little town to littler town because Bozeman's like 50,000, 60,000, and
Yeah.
Hood River's 8,000.
Yeah, but that's got a
So
massive river that runs through it as well. That's huge. What is that
It's
river?
the windsurfing
Oh,
capital of North America. So people just
there you
get
go.
out there with their surfboards and their kites and they
Mhm.
surf around. And it's also the number one exporter of pears in the US. We
Mm,
live right by a pear farm, which is pretty cool. So I'm definitely gonna be sneaking a couple off the trees this summer.
yeah. Are you gonna be doing any more skiing or anything like that now that you're down that area? Because there's a mountain right there, like Mount Hood. Oh, sorry,
Right.
I'm just looking at a map so I can visualize it myself because I don't
Sure.
know the US at all. But
No,
I
I
like
might.
that.
I was an avid snowboarder in college. I snowboarded 3 days a week, but I haven't done it as much in the last 5 years or so, but the nice thing about Mount Hood is that it has a glacier on it, and so you
Yeah.
can keep skiing until end of July.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I might still get up there this summer even, which is a weird thought because usually they close the ski resorts in Montana in March. But I will say I'm a bit spoiled because Montana has some of the best skiing in the world, so it's hard to beat the snow quality. They use snow machines out here
Mhm.
for a lot of the lower mountain ski resorts that aren't the glacier, so I'll try it out for sure. I definitely like I'm here, right? Like, I gotta get up there, and I
Yeah.
also wanna see the Timberline Lodge because that's where they filmed The Shining, which is just pretty cool to see, so, yeah.
That's true. No, it's crazy 'cause, that's very similar to a mountain where I grew up. It has 2 ski resorts or 2 sides to the mountain and stuff like that. It's very yeah, very picturesque. It's very nice.
For sure. It's hard to beat the view out of our front door, so
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess you would get out and there's mountain on one side, hills on the other side, like, you've got rivers as you've got
yep.
it all. I feel a bit unlucky with that in where I live in Brisbane because literally we're flat and there's nothing. Like I don't have any. Yeah, okay, tell a lie. There's like something called the Three Sisters, which is maybe 5 minutes down the road. You can see it, but that's it. We don't have anything massive to look at, which is coming from living in New Zealand. This is 8, 9 years ago now, but living in New Zealand, I used to see like a massive mountain. We had a sky tower to look at. We had beaches. We had a bit of everything because the island's so narrow, so you can go from there to half an hour to an hour.
Sure.
But here, I have to go to the beach, take me 45 minutes, and then it's the Gold Coast, so it's like massive city and stuff like that, and it's not really as chill as New Zealand. So I wish we lived somewhere a bit more exciting.
For sure.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, I'm very thankful.
Any sort of not trying to dox, but uh, I'll sh- I'll keep it out of the thing. I'm just thinking like any like awesome restaurants you found there that like you didn't have any sort of cuisines you didn't have in Bozeman.
So there's a huge Hispanic population here.
Mm,
So there's some incredible cuisine, some Mexican cuisine, some Spanish cuisine. So it's really good. Montana's very white. So you end up with a lot of white people food, which is not bad. But so that's been, and then also proximity to Portland, being 45 minutes from
Yep,
Portland. It's, if there's a restaurant, if there's a food type that you're interested in, they've
yep,
got a good restaurant that serves it.
yeah,
So
no,
we find ourselves in Portland pretty frequently just trying
mm,
out different restaurants. There's some really good ramen, some
yep,
really good Indian food. So yeah, we've been really enjoying trying it out.
that's awesome. Yeah. So how has your wife been doing at her job and stuff? Has she been enjoying the job there, and the move has been like really beneficial for both of you? Kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
So for context, and this is part of the reason I was able to stream as much as I did when I did, but for
Mm,
2 years, she was going to school in
mm,
a city 6 hours outside of Bozeman.
right.
So I would go visit her every weekend or every other weekend, just drive out 6 hours, hang out for the weekend, drive back.
Yep.
I basically was left to my own devices for most of that time. So I would just, I honestly, it just helped with the loneliness, just
Yeah.
like going live and
Yep.
seeing people. Just having that season be over has been great. I had that mentality like, I don't really care where we live. I just want to live together again.
Yep.
That would be great.
There.
So I don't regret the choice we made to do what we did because we had just bought the house. But so we knew we could make it work, but it wasn't easy. I
Yep.
just kept reminding myself there's people who go through all kinds of things. They'll like that separate marriages for a long time. They get drafted or whatever, and they can go. So if those people can make it, like we talked every night and I was
Yep.
out there frequently. So it was good. But I think that aspect has been great. And then also the job itself is amazing. She's been in touch with
Yep.
a lot of her classmates from PA school, and they've
Mhm.
all got more difficult jobs for sure. Like she has really good support from the doctors.
Yep.
They give her a lot of latitude, but they also help her out when she needs it. And yeah,
Mm.
I don't think you could have asked for a better first job out of school to just learn as much as possible. And
Yep.
yeah, it's been great.
No, that's awesome. So the future for you guys is still going to be in Oregon for a while. You're thinking
For
like,
probably about 2 years at
yep.
least.
2 years.
So,
And then
yep. And
hopefully back to Bosman or somewhere else.
but we may just be like, we don't want to leave here. Who knows? Just
That's
leaving
true.
it open ended at the moment. So
That's true. In Bosman, is there some like massive restaurants and stuff you can go to, or like a big city you can go to quite close, or is it still it has enough stuff that you don't really need to go out of Bosman? Or
honestly, yes, it does. It has good food for sure. There's
yeah,
pizza spots. There's fried chicken, whatever. But I think it's mostly friends and family that are there. Like,
sure.
I think the nearest drivable city with like over 1 million people is probably Salt Lake, which is about 6 hours. So it takes a minute, but I think it's nice because it has enough that I'm never really I got to get out of here and go find something better. And it's a pro and con because it exploded in popularity during the pandemic because a
Mhm.
lot of people who started working remote started looking around thinking, if I can work from anywhere, maybe I'll go work from somewhere beautiful. So
Yeah.
a lot of them picked Montana, and I don't blame them for it. But the real estate pricing just skyrocketed at the time,
Mm,
so
mm.
it's driven a lot of people out, and that's one of the things that so it's not lost on me that if we move back there and we want to eventually get a bigger house or something like that, like it's going to cost a lot, especially compared to a lot of the rest of the US. Most like smaller mountain towns had that happen, including here in Oregon. Like this little town is about as expensive. So
Mm.
I think the median a single family house price in Bozeman is like 850 right now. So
Yeah, that's quite
that's
quite
it,
high. Eh?
it hurts.
Mm.
But I think it's not that's not a unique situation to Montana.
That's everywhere,
Yeah.
really. Yeah, our house we bought. This is quite crazy. We bought it in 2019, I want to say, for 333, which is very cheap for a 4-bedroom house.
No. Wow.
Yeah, so 4-bedroom house, 3 living room areas, and yeah, all sorts of stuff. So really awesome house on a small piece of land, like 400 something. Just to give you an idea of the whole thing. No swimming pool, no nothing. But yeah, 333, and nowadays they're selling 3-bedroom houses in the same area on a similar piece of land for 780 kind of thing. So it's ridiculous. So even if we wanted to upgrade or change or something like, there's no way we could.
And you
It's
probably got a good interest rate at the time too.
had a good interest rate, not
Ah,
anymore. Not
gotcha.
anymore. It's up to percent or something.
Okay. Okay.
Whereas it was at like 2.2 or something, which was absolutely amazing. Actually amazing. I kind of regret not locking it in for a lot longer. But you don't really know anything about that. You don't think to lock in your interest rate for 10 years, not that you can, but to lock it in for an extended amount of time, thinking because a lot of times they were saying, hey, it's going to come down even more, so don't lock in, which is odd to think about really being at 2.2%, but it had been at that for 8 to 10 years. So,
Interesting. Oh,
yeah,
really? Okay. Because
until
for me, like
2019, then it jumped significantly. So,
because it had been I remember because I bought a condo in 2018. I had a 15-year mortgage at 4%.
mm,
And so then when I bought this house in 2020, it was like January 2020.
yep.
I locked in a 30-year mortgage at 2.7.
Yeah,
So
wow.
the interest rate doesn't change, which is nice
Hmm.
on my mortgage. So it's just going to be 2.7 until the loan's done.
Oh, really?
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah. So you can do
Mm,
variable interest rate loans, but I did a fixed
yeah.
over 30 years, and that's part of the reason why I didn't sell
Okay.
the house because it's
Yeah.
like you can
You
pry
won't get
that
a
2.7% out of my cold dead hands because it's 7% here right now. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that's dude, because that's a massive win for you guys. That's huge.
especially it sounds like for you guys, you're still beating your appreciation rate is still beating your interest rate, so that's nice.
I kind of, yes. But the
Sure.
thing is, if we were to ever sell, like, it's that
Yeah.
thing, like, we would have to put in just as much as we're taking out. So that doesn't
Yeah.
really make
Yep.
sense.
And then you're strapped with a massive monthly, and it's
Yeah.
not fun.
No, definitely not fun. Because, yeah, like, just talking more about houses, but I had a house back in 2011, or built a house back in 2011. This is in New Zealand. And that was 520,000 back then for land and building, like the whole package. And that was a very special deal because things were going for a lot more back then anyway. Within 4 years, that appreciated to up to 940,000. It was quite crazy. So yeah, that was, I guess I was a bit lucky there in terms of the money put in. But yeah, it's fun. I like knowing where we've come from, but I know that it's going to get a lot more expensive in Brisbane because of the Olympics coming through in 2030 or whatever it is. So I think it's going to peak out and then drop way down after the Olympics. I think that's the whole thing.
Okay.
No, wait a bit. So yeah, no, sorry. But back on keyboards though, we'll just go through a couple of things on keyboards. So we've already seen your favorite keyboards, more than favorite keyboards. In terms of influence in keyboards and your streaming life, who's had a lot of influence in that sort of situation? Not so specifically helping you directly, or more like just in the background. Yeah, up to you and your interpretation of it.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think obviously Patty, Xinxin
Mhm.
Wang, I watch her streams and I talk with her a lot, obviously work for her, but yeah, I have a great deal of respect for her, the way that she does content creation. I think a lot of streamers are afraid to do something other than keyboards because the viewership changes and it's hard to see that. But she just does what she does. She does World of Warcraft, she does indie games, she does
Yep.
keyboards, and I think it's paying off. It goes to show that personality, I think, matters a lot more a lot of times. I also feel the same way about I love Mandolo. Her
Mhm.
streams are so funny.
Yep.
She also
Right.
I like that was one of the bummer things about moving is now I'm another hour off of her time zone, so it's even earlier in the morning for me, so I don't catch them as often because she's in Singapore. But obviously Frank, kind of the keyboard godfather, and
Yep.
Elvin was one of the first people that I found and watched a lot of. And then the other, I feel like Space Cables, Reagan,
Mm.
they reached out to work with me, and that made a huge that multiple people did. Reagan and Keepfront both reached out to me and said,
Yeah. Wow.
"Hey, you want to work together?" And then also, so there's only a handful of people that I talk to,
Mm.
like offline, just will call up randomly, and I know they'll pick up. And Jurin is one of them. He's fantastic. I have so much respect for the guy. He's
Mhm.
given me a lot of career advice, which I really appreciate. He's
Yep.
just, I don't know, he's been really awesome.
He's the
Um,
nicest guy, honestly. He's
yeah,
so chill for being such a nice guy. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So yeah, I think yeah, I can name so many people. Appa, Kim Lin Win, Starfire Penguin, and Rue. Yeah, Eve Astrology
Mhm.
has come out to visit me, which was
Yep.
super fun. And then also Jack
Yep.
Piketty. I saw you interviewed
Think he
him.
did, yeah.
He just is like one of those people who's just like a kindred spirit. Like we interact a little bit on stream. He chats in my chat, I chat in his. But like we met for the first time at Keeb Life last year, and it was just like this instant, okay, we're best friends now energy. And it
So
was so
good.
fun. He had his massive keyboard
Yep.
and he got invited to a photo shoot that was going on for some sort of a keyboard coffee table book, I think, that was
Yep.
being made. And they wanted him to take his keyboard down to a studio. And I had a rental car and I was like, dude, let's go. And so we're trying to stuff this keyboard through the trunk into the back seat. Or we were like, do we hold it out do we put it against the side of the car and hold it
Yep.
with our arms
Oh
like out
my,
the window? Like, we were trying to figure out how to get it there because it was so long. And anyways, it was so fun.
that 7-footer. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's mental.
also Spooky Caps, Mason of the West, like a lot of these artisan makers. For some reason that I've had incredible relationships with these artisan makers. And so it's been so fun. So for my stream anniversary, I reached out to a bunch of them and I said, "Hey, can you make me like a one-off? 10 of a one-off for my stream." I have it right here. They came through in spades. So I
Yeah.
had this is Clover Caps. I think she's actually a mod for or like an employee of Archetype, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And then this is Spooky. He made a little Bre guy.
Mhm.
And then let's see, Mason of the West. This is Gooey Keys down here.
Mhm.
And then, oh my gosh, I suddenly am forgetting his name. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. He sent me like 1,000 of these things. But we have Clover keycaps,
Yep.
Spooky caps, Mason of the West, Muffin keycaps, and Gooey keys at the bottom.
There you go. 1,000.
It's 30, not
Oh, right.
1,000. Seriously, I asked for
Say
10 and he
1,000?
sent me 30.
Oh, well, of course.
But yeah, so
No,
great
that's
guy.
so good. I love that you've been influenced by so many different people. Like, it's not just one-off, "Hey, I got influenced by one person," or whatever, but that's such a cool thing that you would take your, creativity from everyone. Yeah, that's
Right.
really cool.
There's so much
Um,
talent in the community. It's amazing.
mhm. Are there anything you think the majority of people get wrong with mechanical keyboards? Not talking streamers in general, but like most people, is there any sort of generic thing that maybe you think a lot of people might get wrong when they're first getting into keyboards? Or
That's a good question, actually. I think a lot of people will treat what other people say as gospel when in reality, like you have to figure out for yourself what you like. And what you like might be what everyone else hates. Like some people really like scratchy switches, and that's great for them. So I think the hard part is those people have already reviewed the stuff, so you don't have to buy it. And
yes,
it's incredibly expensive to try to figure out for yourself. And I also don't really believe in like switch testers. Having one switch in a board to need a whole board, it's a tough spot to be in. But I do think like just because someone says they hate something doesn't make it bad. You
yes,
know what I mean? Not that this community is strictly negative, but generally I guess maybe let me put it this way. I think everyone has a tendency to want to find the best of something, to find what is the ultimate, what's the
yep,
best this. The amount of times I'm sure you get this too. People come into your stream, what's the best linear switch? Dog, I try them all. You tell
yeah.
me. I don't know. There's no best.
I like this one, but it doesn't mean it's the best. I like this is my best because it's all opinionated, really, isn't it? You have a different ear to my ear, just like different tastes. You might like pickles. I hate pickles. It's completely
I
different.
literally just necked this entire jar of Grillo pickles. Okay, so
Yeah,
good,
that
good
was
shout out.
good. That was crazy. Okay, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, and in that sort of sense, those pickles I would not go for, but I do make my own pickles and stuff like that. But it's pickled vegetables rather than pickled like actual cucumbers. So
Yeah, dude, there's this company, Grillo, free publicity for them. They make something called pickle de gallo, which I know it's probably a crime,
yeah,
but it is so good, and I will eat an entire container of it at a time. Like it's just chopped up pickles, and I've got my tortilla chips. Oh, dude,
it sounds
it's
amazing.
insane. It's so good.
Sounds amazing, but yeah, like I said, I like pickles, but like pickles in a burger, those ones are. I don't know why, but they're horrible. Cool. What? So in terms of coming back to keyboards again, can there be any bad recommendations in keyboards, or do you think people are giving bad recommendations in keyboards, or is it again more opinionated?
I think there's a tendency for people to want to justify expensive purchases by saying that they're great. I don't know. I guess if there's ever instances where like hype culture starts leaking into keyboards, that's where I think that can be a bad
Yeah.
opinion. Where it's like someone starts saying that something is good merely for its price tag and not of its own merits. There's an 80-20 principle going on here where 80% of the value is at 20% of the price. You get diminishing returns at a certain point. I definitely don't think there's any key. Everyone's got a different number, but I'm like $1,000 for a keyboard. Really? I feel like going over 300 is like definitely in the diminishing returns territory personally. And even
Yep.
that number would make a lot of people tip over if they weren't already connected in the keyboard hobby and knew what the average board goes for. Because at the end of the day, I think Alex Soto says this well and says this often, but they're luxury products. It's an
Yeah.
input device that does the exact same job as another input device, maybe slightly better. But so, yeah, I do think that it is possible to have a bad opinion in the sense that you're like, money equals better.
Yep.
So
No,
there's been a
that's
lot of expensive boards out there that were terrible.
yeah.
So
No, that's true because there's a lot of that stuff I find in almost any hobby, to be honest.
yeah,
3D printing, for example, like just because it's a bamboo, it doesn't mean it's always good.
yep,
Most people do buy a bamboo, and sure, they do run really well, but you lose a lot of stuff like being able to troubleshoot it and stuff like that because they're all proprietary and stuff like that. Or other
right,
than going for a cheaper option and still print really well. Obviously,
yep,
it's not going to print flawlessly every time, but it's a thing that you need to tinker to figure out. Much like everything else, higher price point can be good
right,
in a lot of ways, meaning you can have a good experience out of the box. But even with keyboards, a lot of times you need a lot of uh, customization, even at a higher price point, to get stuff working really well or
yeah,
coming to your sound profile or your feel or whatever. So it's like you're right. It's just pricing doesn't always dictate that it's going to be amazing, absolutely amazing.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a crazy thing, isn't it?
Sure.
So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. One sec.
Oh, no. No worries. Good to be on here. It's a fun conversation.
It is. Dude, I love talking about it because we're talking about anything with anyone really, but I love talking about it because it flows so well because we're in the same space for quite a while, so it's really good. Actually, I had something. Okay, you know how we had that challenge back in the day?
Yes.
You won that challenge. Hands down, you won that challenge. It's myself, you, Kev, and Fuzzinator, and Brian as well, wasn't it? It was like 5 of us. So how was that? Was that a good pusher for you, or was it just like it was just a fun little challenge in the back kind of thing? Did we shell out a prize for you? I can't even remember.
No, the prize was that I wouldn't have to do a
Oh,
TikTok dance or
that's right.
right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Which I never came to collect on that one. I think
That's true. Maybe I'm bad for bringing it up then. Yeah.
well, no, that is an interesting thing because we do
Mm.
have that history where, yeah, we had formed this like streamer accountability Discord group message, and
Yeah.
I think for me, it was a great because it taught me a lot about what I streaming in myself. And I think that what I learned is that I need something to push me oftentimes, or I won't get stuff done.
Yep.
But at the same time, I don't think caring about numbers is healthy for me. So it was a yin and a yang situation.
Yep.
Where I think everyone grows at their own rate and velocity. I think by the time I actually, because it took me forever. The challenge for context was to get to 1,000 followers on Twitch.
Yep.
It took me months, like 6 months or more from when
Yep.
we started to when we got there. But like in that time, I think Brian had stopped streaming for one reason or another. I think you had stopped streaming a little bit
Yep.
for I don't know whatever.
Yep.
Everyone takes time off for different reasons. And so for me, I had too. I had taken a sabbatical for like when I moved, and I had, in fact, the main kicker was because I was back, people were excited that I was back. And so I was getting way more raids, which equals more followers because people haven't seen you before. So I ended up crossing that finish line because of that. And yeah, I liked at the time, and I really liked the pressure of I should go live because while I love streaming, honestly, I can come up with any number of excuses to rationalize not going live because it is work, right?
It
It's
is.
fun, but it's also effort.
Yep.
So sometimes it's just way easier not to. And when you're streaming like just chatting, which I've done a couple times, like I like that it's free flowing. If you've got people there, it's soul crushing if you don't. If no one's there and you're streaming just chatting, it's tough. But if you've got people there and they're interactive, it's super easy to just sit down and flow. There's not a lot of prep work or post work. But if you're doing a keyboard build, you have to do double duty because especially for me lately, I've pretty much only done client work live. So I'm stripping addresses off. I'm making sure all the components are there. I'm double checking the PCB works beforehand. And then the thing needs to work well at the end. So the interaction part, which is the fun part, is secondary to the actual job at hand. Yeah. Anyways, all that said, I do sometimes need a little push to stream. And so it was nice having that. But at the same time, I found myself constantly like refreshing everyone's Twitch tracker, which I like. I don't like the idea of seeing my friends as competition for my content because I think everyone around me is like friends first and competition second, right? Or not at all, honestly, because it's a shared group and everyone has their own subset of that audience. So comparing yourself to someone else, like I even remember, like I got it in my head that I would try pushing for partner, and then I just thought I never officially announced a partner push, but I was quietly attempting it. I was talking to people offline. I remember talking to Jira and I talked to Starfire and a couple other people about it and just you got any advice. But if you're on the cusp of partner, it actually is a pretty brutal proposition to push for it because you have to start to beg, and it's not a bad thing. But for me, I just was like, I think I would rather wait until my actual viewership is averaging that without me having to request people to refresh the page after a raid or whatever. And then just realizing that the ceiling for everyone is different. And honestly, in the algebra of how much effort I'm willing to put in and where my stream's at and all that stuff, my ceiling, given all those variables, might not be partner, and that's fine. Because at the end of the day, it's just a number. And with them kind of removing now they've got their partner plus program, but that's got another, you need even more. So it's just like the carrot and the stick's getting longer and the carrot at the end of it is, so it's it doesn't really matter to me anymore. I've accepted that, and I think that helped me turn a corner with my mentality because I was
Yeah.
streaming just to stream. I was like, "What do I got on hand? What keyboards are out here?" I was buying product just to because I was
Just
like,
straight
I
yeah.
all my clients' stuff is booked. I'm just gonna buy this keyboard and build it on stream just to have something, and it was not worth my money, not
No,
worth
no.
stress. So
Mm.
yeah, I think all in all, I'm grateful that we did that because it helped put a burr in my side a little bit to actually stream, especially
Yep.
because my wife was gone at the time and it was good.
Yep.
But I think if I was feeling the pressure now that
Mm.
she's done with school and we have more time to spend with each other, I wouldn't be happy about that.
Yep.
I wouldn't be wanting to do it. So all that said, you owe me a TikTok dance, I think.
Me specifically or
I don't
someone
know.
else?
We have to either I'll do it or none. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So if I look at back in the day, because I'm just looking at back through our chats anyway, and you're always very good with logos and branding and stuff like that. And I struggled. Fuzz struggled for a bit. I helped him out with some things. So did Key Circle. It's just a bit of it's tricky getting to a point where you're like, hey, this is what I want out of my stream, and this is what I want people to see me as. That's always the most difficult thing. I know you've said before how you came up with your interloper thing, which is like the Sony Dimacron.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The tapes and stuff like that.
Set
Yeah.
box.
What sort of like? Why was it that, not something else?
So it originally wasn't. I did a
Okay.
rebrand like 6 months in.
Mm.
Originally, it was a skull. It was like a mountain goat skull that my wife had drawn that was part of the artwork for the original music festival t-shirt.
Yep.
So I basically had just taken that design we'd done, which
Yep.
was all original artwork. But I started to feel like at a certain point there wasn't a lot of brand continuity. The music festival was supposed to have taken place in rural Colorado, so it made sense to have that be the logo for it. And but then I just felt I wanted to mix it up a little bit. I had started to build these like little stream tropes, like the breath thing, which was
Mm.
that came from my chat, the whatever, all that stuff, the basement. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm good at branding, but I think what my skill set is that I know what I like and I like to steal. So I just said, I love this Betamax color scheme, logo,
Yep.
typeface, all that. I'm just gonna yoink and twist, as Ludwig would say. And
Yep.
I yoinked it and twisted it a little bit. And I loved how it turned out. So I've stuck with it. But I think
Mm.
really I never had a really strong brief of what I want. I never wrote down what do I want my stream to be. It just evolved. And I went through a period where I was determined before I was streaming weekly and I wanted something new for stream every stream.
Yep.
So whether it's a new channel point redemption, whether it's a new sound effect, whatever. That was the biggest period of growth for me because I was always doing something new and I was live pretty regularly. But I will say there's a danger in that. It gets exhausting, your OBS gets complicated,
Yes.
and at a certain point, if you do too many gimmicks, the gimmicks become the content and not your personality.
Yep.
And I pulled back on that a little bit because through no fault of my viewers, it just turned into like a dance monkey dance scenario where it was constant channel point redemptions for things that people think were funny. And granted, they were, but you can overplay your hand a little bit. And
Yep.
yeah, I think
I agree. I guess became my own victim to because I liked to create these things on my stream as well.
yeah,
I really liked it, but then
constant channel point
after the
redemptions
fact,
for things that people
it
think were
just got
funny.
a little bit too much. Like you say, it's not horrible. It's just like then the streams just take longer because you're doing all these extras. Whereas you wanted to do a 3 hour stream, build a keyboard, do this, ends up being a 6 hour stream, and it's like where did that time come from? That's crazy. It can be quite tricky with that sort of thing. So I find I did have to cut down to basically nothing. Otherwise, I would just be always distracted. Yep.
A cozy atmosphere with familiar, and so nothing too it's ironic saying this now, but nothing too crazy happens. And then yet I did a lot of crazy things. But I don't really scream. I don't really get too agitated. I try to just keep it level, keep it
Yep.
funny, and play it relatively straight. So that was what I wanted. And the bread basement, I like the idea of like that 70s show. They're all hanging out in the basement. That's what I had in my mind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's just we're just chilling in the basement. And so yeah, that's the
Very
only
cool.
like brand that I had. So
Yep. No, that's really cool. I really do enjoy the whole situation you guys set up. That's very well put together, I would say. really on top of other people, which people like Tim Keelis, because I know him. He tries, but his stuff is not put together as if he had put it together a lot better. I think he would be quite a lot bigger. And I've chatted to Tim about this as well because he's just I'm putting in minimal effort because I don't really want to be doing this as my main thing. It's just more for fun, which is fair enough.
Yep.
I just feel like if he was to put in a little bit more effort on the branding and stuff like that, I think he'd be Alex Soto's level kind of thing. But yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
But I guess that's the nice thing about Twitch is that you can get out of it what you want, you
yep,
know? And I think for me, the one thing I've learned, because I actually went to film school for a semester, because at the time I wanted to be a filmmaker, but
yep,
I just learned about myself that I like content creation in general is a hobby that I love, and I don't think I could enjoy it being my occupation. If I had to go live or post a YouTube video to put food on my table or pay my mortgage, like I don't think I would enjoy it very much. And I think learning that about myself has been awesome for me. It's helped a little bit with burnout because if I'm able to take a step back from it, if I need to, that's great. And sometimes I'll take too big of a step back, like for too long or whatever.
yep.
But I'm not super worried about quote unquote relevance or whatever. I've got friends and I know they'll be there, so that's all I need. Yeah, it is nice that with Twitch, it's if you don't want this to be your job, it doesn't have to be. If it was
Mm,
just a fun hobby, you go live every once in a while, you can. And if you want to go live and do something off the wall, like different from what your normal thing is,
yep,
people will still show up. The nice thing with this community is that while yes, it's focused on keyboards, like that's just the thing that we all have in common,
yep,
but we like each other outside of that.
yeah. We're all fairly likable, I would say. Yeah. I have my tendencies, but I know I'm fairly likable. I know you're very
Oh, for
likable.
sure.
Yeah, everyone has their own things, but yeah, I don't think I've found anyone that I've been like, you know what, I can't really get along with you. I know that this is funny because Gordon, I had a chat with Gordon, and I haven't put that one up yet. Gordon Derp, and
Yeah. I met Gordon.
yeah, Gordon's awesome. The only problem with Gordon is I don't understand a lot of his link. I don't know if that makes me feel old or something, but
Oh,
it's
I
just
hear you.
the way that he chats. I haven't put it out yet because I'm still struggling to figure out what he was saying in context a
Sure.
lot of the case because it's very young lingo, and I feel like that makes me sound like a really old person. But it is like a lot of the stuff is very young Melbourne speak, and I'm like, I did not get it for like at least 10 minutes, and then I was like, oh shit, he was talking about that. It's funny.
It
Um,
is nice that a lot of us are slightly older than your average Twitch streamer. A lot of the top streamers are pretty young, but,
mm,
I'm 30. I know a lot of people are 30 or older even. Obviously, there's youngins too,
yeah.
but it's not like we're exceptionally old for this
No,
hobby.
I know I am exceptionally old for a hobby, but Jiren I think is slightly older than me, but not very much. But
Okay.
I don't know exactly. But he always says I'm so old. I'm like, what are you talking about? He looks like a 29-year old that's just jacked and stuff. But I know he's got
Seriously.
a wife and 2 kids or something, so 3 kids,
Yep.
or whatever it is, and they're much older. Okay, no, I get where you come from. But yeah, it's such an amazing thing. Like the only person I think, like I said, I haven't really had a good experience with. I'm not going to name names, but they've been shunned by the community anyway because of reasons. So, but I'm pretty sure you could. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've had a couple I'm not gonna name names either. I've had a
Yeah.
couple negative interactions with some people before. I had someone tell me once when I was trying to figure out how to get clients and I was trying to figure out how to go live, and I was in one of the popular streamers that I knew who was
Mm,
real popular at the time, or mildly popular at the time, I don't know. And I put in a chat just asking for advice, and they said, "Don't bother. It's annoying." I think they were coming from a place of like
mm,
burnout almost, where they were like, getting clients is annoying. There's already a lot of people doing it. Don't bother. But that was really hard for me to hear because I was
mm,
already like, you're brand new, you're trying to figure it out. It was
yep.
just like to be told off like that was not fun. That's the one interaction I've had with them. I haven't really been back in their stream at all
Yeah.
since then. So it's not like I've really gotten to know them at all. It could have
Mhm.
been just a bad day. So I don't hold it against them. But I do remember that that was like the one instance that stands out in my mind of someone being negative to me. Other than that, it's not really happened. So
Yeah. No, it's yeah, so good. Have you got any projects that are in the way that you want to promote or anything like that?
yes, I do. like I said, I'm working on a YouTube channel. It's unrelated to keyboards. It's basically like some of my favorite content creators are like William Osmond, Michael Reeves,
Mhm.
those kind of guys who build dumb stuff. And so I want to do that as well. I don't aspire I'm not delusional enough to think that I am as talented as they are or as funny,
Yeah.
but I do think that one thing that tends to happen in that sort of YouTube makerspace is that it takes so long to do things that there's a lot of time between videos.
Yeah.
So I actually think that there's a reasonable opportunity there to be one of them.
I do find
Not
you're
to that level,
very
but
I do find you're very Michael Reeves-esque, and sometimes you're quite madmanish, and I want to do this, and it's got to be this way, and you put these funny spins on things as well. So it's yeah, I see that. I see that for sure. Yeah.
I what I find is that what makes good content and what I am able to do is put a tremendous amount of effort into the stupidest thing. And it's that absurdism that is inherently funny, so you don't
Yep.
necessarily have to be funny yourself. So, anyways, my thought is, and I got this advice from someone else, is that I'm not going to officially launch my channel until I've got 3 videos done so that people have something else to watch once they've watched the first video. So, I've finished the first video. It's already done. In fact, it features Mandy, a
Oh wow.
Mandolo.
Cool.
She's in it. And the next one I'm working on features 3D Keycap, who's a really cool. He's like bridging that gap between artisan and engineer, where he's
Right.
making really interesting stuff. So it's been cool to work with him. I hope he gets more visibility. Not that I think there's going to be a ton of visibility on this, but anyways, and I have one other thing that I'm working on in Tangent. So I think
Yep.
early July is when that's going to be coming out, but
Yep.
I'll be posting about it on my socials. Like it's not an interloper thing, it's a different
Yep.
thing, but so I'll be working on that. And then the other thing I want to shout out is Patty, is
Yep.
Xinxin Wang. As her editor, it's nice to see my work get viewed, but it's also
Yep.
nice to see someone that I'm working for succeed. She deserves it so much, and she works so hard. So
Yep.
I'd love to. And her channel's doing well. She's creeping up on 4,000 subscribers, and generally gets 1,000 plus videos or views of video
Mm.
on new uploads, which is awesome. That's it's you know what they say, the first 1,000 subscribers is the hardest 1,000, and
Yep.
it's et cetera, et cetera. So it's just building up takes forever.
It does.
So,
Rolls on
um,
after that, but yeah, I think once you get there, then YouTube realizes that you're not going away.
right, right, and she's incredibly consistent. She's been at it. She's been a tentpole of the or pillar of the community for so long. Yeah, she's one of those people I love hanging out with every time we have a keyboard meetup. And yeah, I think that's what I would want to shout out for now. And I guess I'll leave it at that. But I'm quite
Yep.
excited about what I've got cooking. I just let me cook.
Let him cook. Yeah. All right. Rapid fire questions I've got for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite Switch?
Um, I cream sodas.
Ooh, I like that one. Favorite keycaps? Ones that you haven't shined.
Yeah. GMK Fright Club.
Fright Club. Okay, I
That's
haven't seen that one. I'll have to look up.
that's a little under the radar. I love that one.
Yeah.
Or Nuclear Data. That's a good one too.
Looks it. Okay. I haven't heard of either of those, but yeah, I'll have to look them
Hey.
up.
Or Kaiju. I can do 3. Kaiju, GMK Kaiju.
Kaiju's good. I know Kaiju, but not the other two. Yeah. Split Backspace. Yes or no?
Yes, if I was smarter. No, because I'm dumb.
Spacebar. 6.25, 6, 7U, split. What's your preference?
I would like to be a split backspace person or split space because I
Mhm.
like to put backspace on the left,
Yep.
but it messes up first person shooter games. I actually don't really have a preference. I tend to not like blockers on my keyboard, even
Mm.
though I think like a TKL with blockers is one of the classier looking
Yep.
layouts. So I tend to go no blockers, which tends to be 6.25. So
Yep.
I don't know.
Your best sounding keyboard overall?
Probably this Type 65. I think it sounds amazing.
Okay. Awesome. And what's in the Type 65?
Marshmallows and its plateless.
Plateless, yeah. Plateless do have a different sound to them. If you were a keyboard shortcut, what would it be?
Control Shift Escape. It's the way to get to the task manager without
Yeah.
Control Alt Delete.
That's true. Wow. That's an
It's
interesting
the
answer.
panic. It's panic.
Panic, yeah, I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I've done something wrong. Close.
Yeah.
And task. No, that's awesome. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Nathan. Thank you.
Of course.
Do you have any questions for me?
I've been very curious about your stream because you've started taking us in the car with you.
Yes.
So can you tell me about how that started?
Basically, the main reason was I had been not working for a while, and then I started working, and it's been quite time consuming. Like, it's taking up a lot of time. So I work from 12 o'clock up until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at nighttime. And it's an ice cream truck, and I get to drive it around, and it's really good fun. And I chat to people all day and stuff like that. But I'm usually only streaming from my depot to the destination where I'm going, and then I go and dish out ice cream and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So it's just my way of having that outlet of streaming where I didn't have any other time to stream. Because at 9 o'clock, I'm shattered by the end of the day. Like, I'm getting in and out of the truck 60 plus times a day and just like shelling out ice cream, like thinking of money and all the rest of it. So it's just, my brain is fried by the end of the day. Otherwise, I would have still been streaming keyboards or something, but it's just, yeah, my brain is just absolutely gone by the end of the day. So that was my little outlet of, I still get to stream, still to get to chat to people and still talk about keyboards or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter, but in a different sense. So it was still, streaming is still my hobby, and plus letting me use technology. Like, I got to, silly, but I went through and bought almost every microphone that you can, wireless microphone that you can from AliExpress within a certain budget, up to I think 40 or $50. And I have 12 or 13 of them sitting around. Like, I've tested all of them, and I haven't done a review of them, but like, that was my thoughts. I'll do a review of them. But I
You
love,
should.
I love doing that sort of technology, as well as like lights and stuff. Oop, bumped the cable. But like these lights and stuff, like remote lights and all that sort of stuff that I got to play with from AliExpress, because I'm like, oh shit, I need a light in the cab, or I need a
Sure.
microphone, or I need a mount, and I bought like 20 different mounts as well. So it was just, I got to do technology as well as streaming as well as my job. So it's just that outlet that I got, that streaming outlet, which was, yeah, totally awesome. I
Twitch or
enjoy that.
YouTube? What would you, if you had to pick one
If I was starting over, YouTube.
to make content for?
Yeah, YouTube. If I was starting over, YouTube. I would have liked to do YouTube from the start. I feel
Sure.
like I failed myself in some way by not doing a lot of YouTube back at the start, because it's offline content and people can consume it at any time they want. Whereas Twitch, you have to be there, you have to be online. Yes, there's VODs and stuff like that, but they don't always go online. And
Yeah.
I think if I was to have, yeah, like I said, if I have to start it all over again, definitely YouTube. And not trying, I have this habit of trying all of the alternatives because I want something better than the status quo, if that makes any sense.
Mm,
I
yep.
have this inane need to try something else and know that it's going to be better there than trying what everyone else is doing. Like, it's a weird thing to do, but that's always how my brain, that's why I've got odd microphones, and why I've got like this microphone and this one, and then another, like this one here, and all that sort of stuff. So it's my need to try absolutely everything and not have to spend $2,000 on hardware. This is a $40 microphone from AliExpress.
Oh, okay.
Like, it looks and sounds like the Shores and stuff like that. I just don't like to spend top dollar if I don't have to. That's
I have
my, yeah,
I've noticed that with the boards that you build, which
Yeah.
I think is cool, because
Yeah.
a lot it's so samey on Twitch sometimes, where the people are building the same $400
Exactly.
keyboard on every
Exactly.
stream. Oh,
Everyone's building a Cycle 7 now, or everyone's building a whatever, a Jane TKL, or what. It's all the same. So I like to build the AliExpress of options. I'm still rocking this one, which is absolutely one of my favorites, and it's very cheap. It's a GMK 67 Zoyu, and I implore you to try it. Like, it is one of the nicest sounding boards on top of a lot of my aluminum ones that I've got. So, and it's only, I think, 40 Australian. So it'd be like even less for you. Very cheap. GMK 67. And yeah, it just has the nicest, creamiest sound. Because I prefer creamy sounds, but if you're preferring clacky, I probably wouldn't say that, but yeah. Because I know you're more of a loud, not quite tappy, but I know you always build a more louder sound profile.
Yeah.
Than
Yep.
others. No, that's good. Anything else or no? I just love that little
Yeah.
sheath that you made and everything like that.
I know. The
That's
little
so good.
VHS case. I was like, I
So
gotta
cute.
make this look like tape. There's a little label on it because they're serialized. But you know what's funny is that Fruity Keebs offered to machine this out of aluminum And so I just need to clean up the design file for him because I
Yep.
had a lot of issues that wouldn't machine well. But maybe someday there'll be a metal version, which would be cool. So,
That's so amazing. I love that.
but
No, thank you so much for your time. It's
of
yeah.
course, for having me.
Honestly, I could just sit here and chat to you all day, but
I know.
we all have lives to do and things to see. Yeah, that was the right way around. Anyway, all right, cool. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's really fun to be on, and it's fun to. I love that you're doing this on your channel. I think this is a really cool thing to be a part of. So thanks for including me.